guys, Chef Danny here. Today we are making Catfish Courtbouillon and I'm excited to share this recipe with you. It's an easy recipe you can use any night of the week. I have my ingredients here on the board. I have some celery, onions, bell pepper. I have some green onions, a little bit of garlic, and of course our beautiful Mississippi catfish. Now I'm going to set this off to the side first because I'm going to go ahead and get my Holy Trinity chopped up. So in all French cooking, there's something called our mirepoix. And mirepoix is traditionally celery, onions, and carrots in French cooking. Well, what we do here in the South and what the Cajun and Creole people do in Louisiana is they change out the carrots for a bell pepper. So we have bell pepper, onion, and our celery, and that makes up our Holy Trinity. Now, I like to add garlic to that just to get a little extra flavor in there. And then, of course, today we're going to use some green onions, and I have a special little sweet pepper here that I'm going to cut up. So I'm going to go ahead and get these things cut up and get my mise en place ready. For our celery, we're going to cut it right down the center, and we're going to cut it into just pieces. They don't have to be any certain size. We just want everything that we cut up to be about the same size because when it cooks, we want it to all cook at the same time. We don't want something to be crunchy and not cooked through. So the idea of our mirepoix or our Holy Trinity is that majority of it is onions. So half of it is onions. The other half is made up of the celery and the bell pepper. So we're going to have more onions than we have anything else. The bell pepper I'm using is a yellow bell pepper, and then I have a little red sweet one as well. We want to pull out the seeds and the ribs on the inside here. The fact that it's curved, we're going to use that in our favor. So we're going to hold with what we call our bear claw, make sure we don't get our fingers under the knife, and we're going to use the curved part of the bell pepper to cut strips just like this. And once we get those strips cut, we want to turn them and cut them into little pieces. And we want our pieces to be about the same size as our celery. I'm going to cut the other one in just a minute, but first I'm going to show you how to cut the onion. So for the onion, we want to cut off both ends, this end and this end. We want to use the edge of our knife to cut through just the top layer of that onion. And then we want to peel that off. Generally, that'll help you to peel off that whole top layer and all the skin that goes with it. We don't need that, and if any damage is done to the onion, it's usually on that top layer anyway. So we'll just go ahead and take that off. So then we're going to cut the onion in half. And then I always say that the onion tells you how to cut it because it has lines in it. So we kind of want to follow those lines. We want to use the tip of our knife and cut strips that are not all the way through the onion. And then we want to turn it sideways and cut that into pieces about the same size as well. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of my bell pepper and my onion cut up and the garlic ready. For our garlic, we're going to use a whole head of garlic. I'm going to break it apart and mince all the cloves. If they're small cloves, I get rid of them from the center. They're too small, but these larger cloves on the outside, I cut all of them up. And we want to use fresh garlic because fresh garlic has the best flavor and you can store it really easily. It lasts a long time. So we're going to pull all of our cloves off. We're going to pop and chop these into small mince. We want to lay our garlic on the side with the knife on top with the blade facing away from us, and we want to pop it. That helps to peel the garlic and it helps to get all this oils out of it, and it helps to get the flavor started. So what we want to make sure that we do is pop it and peel it. Pretty much takes all of it off of there. Just make sure that blade is not facing you. Once we get these popped, we're going to chop them. So we want to hold them with our bear claw, which means our fingers are down holding the garlic. The tip of the knife stays on the cutting board, and we want to rock the knife through the garlic. The knuckles on our hand will protect our fingertips if you have your fingers curved under. So I'm going to do this to the rest of the cloves of garlic. Now we're at the range, and it's time to build our Catfish Courtbouillon. And this, like I said, comes together really quickly. It's one of those meals I think you could make during the weekday and get it on the table in less than 30 minutes. So I know when you get home from work, everybody's tired, they don't want to do anything. But this is something that you could do really easily, really quickly, get it on the table, and it looks like you have made a great, delicious meal that took a long time, but it was really quick. So what I have in the pot is 2 cups of water. We're going to do a jasmine rice to serve with this. So in jasmine rice, you put the water on first and you let it come to a boil. In my other pan, I've already turned on the flame. We're going to go ahead and get some butter in there to saute off our Holy Trinity. It's about 2 tablespoons of butter that we're putting in the pan. I'm going to let that start to melt. And to this, we're going to add our onions, our bell pepper, our celery, and our garlic, and go ahead and let that start to cook down. Here's our garlic. And then our Trinity with our onions, bell peppers, and our celery. Everything in the pan. We're going to let it start to cook down. This is going to take a few minutes. You see this has some beautiful colors in it. You could use different bell peppers if you like. There's different flavors of bell pepper just depending on the maturity of the pepper. So a green bell pepper is going to taste a little different than a red one, and the yellow is going to taste a little different than the orange. So it just depends on the maturity of the bell pepper. It develops more sweet flavors the older it gets. So I put a little bit of red in here, and I have that yellow going on. We're going to get them cooked down for just a few minutes. This is called sweating our vegetables. And once they start to cook down, then we're going to finish off the rest of our courtbouillon. Our water has boiled in our pot, and we're going to go ahead and add 2 cups of jasmine rice right to the boiling water. We're also going to go ahead and salt our water now. You don't want to salt your water before. When you salt your water before it boils, it takes longer for the water to boil, so you want to make sure that you salt it after it boils. So we want to be generous with our salt. And I'm also going to add about 3 tablespoons of butter to this, and I'm going to take a spoon and just stir the rice around. Now, the way to cook rice is really simple. We can't look at it, we can't touch it, we can't have anything to do with the rice while it's cooking. So we put the rice in the pan, we put our salt in there and our butter. We put our salt in there and our butter. And then we're going to bring it back to a boil. Once we see that it's boiling, we're going to cover that, and we're going to turn it down to a medium heat, and we are not going to look at it or think about it or touch it for 12 minutes. And in 12 minutes, you will have perfect rice. You shouldn't have to drain your rice. You shouldn't have to worry about the rice drying out. All of the water cooks into the rice. We should never have to drain our rice. So I'm going to go ahead and cover this. I'm going to put it on a medium heat. And we're going to set a timer for 12 minutes. Now our other pan is also cooking away. Our veggies have also started to get some color on the bottom of the pan, and they're starting to get a little color on themselves. We're going to let them cook for just a few more minutes, and then we'll finish off our courtbouillon. Our veggies have been cooking down for a few minutes. You can see they're getting some nice color. I'm going to go ahead and stir them around. We're going to use some broth to deglaze the bottom of our pan. You could also use a white wine. That's good as well. Our veggies have been cooking, and they've started to get some brown color to them. They've started to cook down a little bit. You can see there's some fond on the bottom of the pan. That's what we call that, is fond. Fond is flavor. We want to deglaze the bottom of our pan with a little bit of white wine first. That will help get that fond off the bottom of the pan, and that will get that flavor back into our dish. We don't want to leave the flavor stuck to the bottom of the pan. We're also going to add some chicken broth to this. Even though we're doing a fish stew, we're going to add a little bit of chicken broth. You can use a veggie broth if you'd like. I just tend to like the chicken broth the best. Don't worry about the rest of the fond. It will come up as we're cooking, but you see most of that came up and gave some great color to our veggies. So I'm going to add our stewed tomatoes first. We have 1 can of stewed tomatoes. You could use fresh tomatoes, but I find the stewed tomatoes are the easiest for this recipe, and there's always lots of extra juice in there. We're going to add about a cup of chicken broth. And we're also going to add about a cup of tomato sauce. You could also use a tomato paste if you prefer using that, but I always have the tomato sauce on hand. So courtbouillon is a broth. It is usually a veggie broth, and we use it a lot in French cooking for poaching, and technically that's what we're going to do to our catfish today. We're going to use this to poach. I'm going to go ahead and add salt and pepper. Okay, we're going to go ahead and add some salt and pepper and some secret seasoning. Always keep the salt in what's called a pinch pot so that you can just grab the salt that you need. If you can feel the salt, usually it's a little bit better. You don't over salt. Then we're going to use fresh ground black pepper. And of course we're going to use the secret seasoning. We're always pretty generous with that. If you're interested in the secret seasoning, I actually sell it on my website, chefdannycooks.com, and you can get on our subscription list where you keep getting supplies sent to you so you never run out of secret seasoning. Make sure you check that out in the link right at the bottom of the screen. It makes all of our dishes perfection. So now that we have everything in there, it is time to go ahead and put the catfish in. And we're going to take the catfish pieces and put them right into the sauce. We'll ladle a little bit of that sauce over the top of them so that they can cook down. And we're letting them just kind of poach in that liquid. All right, once you have the fish in there, let's get them a little bit under the sauce. And we're going to let them cook for about 5 minutes. We'll come back and check. The fish cooks really fast. That's why I said this is an easy, quick meal to get on the table. Our rice will be done in 1 minute. We have that left on the timer. And as soon as it's done, and this is done, our meal will be ready to plate. So I'm going to go ahead and add the green onions now. And we're going to let it cook for about 5 minutes. I covered the courtbouillon the whole time it was cooking. So now we're going to uncover it. We're going to check the fish to see how tender it is. We want to make sure that the fish is tender and cooked through. And usually it's really good about this point. Oh yeah, you can see it's flaking. The fish is all the way cooked through, and it is ready to eat. Now I want to add one more thing to it. Well, actually 2 more things to it before we eat. You can add some cayenne pepper if you like it a little hot. I'm not going to do that today. We don't want it too very hot, but I am going to add some smoked paprika, and that gives it a little bit of smoky flavor, and I love that smoked paprika flavor in there. I'm also going to add a few more of the green onions. And we're going to serve this over our beautiful jasmine rice. All of the water cooked out. The rice is perfect, ready to go. We're going to serve that underneath our catfish courtbouillon. I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and I hope you try this out. Please like and subscribe to the channel so you see future recipes. And if you want more detailed recipes, you can follow us over on our Patreon, Chef Danny Cooks at Patreon. That is our Catfish Courtbouillon. Enjoy!